Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, ITUT, for the invitation and Government of India. Well, following up our technical report approved and published last year by ITU, we created a new work item on accessible movable communication systems in rural and out-of-home environments. Well, this is addressing rural areas, remote areas, and disaster sites, including also IDP centers and refugee camps. These complex settings, they are lack of infrastructure and lack of electricity. During many sessions and conferences, one of the challenges which is addressed is how to overcome these complex settings, because they are lack of infrastructures and lack of electricity, which means that the citizens in these areas, they struggle to get access to basic services, and they are excluded from the digital era. So our proposed methodology is illustrated. We have initiated this implementation in Mozambique with the support of the government of Mozambique and our regulators, ENCM. And as illustrated, it's a mobile terminal equipped with digital screens. On the left side, there is a big screen of about 150 inches, which it can allow one-way and two-way communications to groups of people. And on other sides, there is individual cabins, which can be used as kiosks, where the citizens can access services, governmental services, non-governmental services, including activities in health and education sectors. So it's possible for these citizens to have, for example, access to telemedicine instead of having to walk long distance to have access to the same. As mentioned before, these complex settings are lack of infrastructure and electricity. So we bridge, we overcome that situation on the complex settings. I'm illustrating another model, which is a fixed unit with the same as I explained before, but this one is fixed. And just to emphasize that we use a source of energy, solar energy. Our goals and strategy is to promote e-government mobility, inclusion for all, seamless services, decentralization, accessibility, transparency, and security. Our vision on creating mobility plus interactive villages, because if we eventually deploy this model into the villages, we are promoting to interactive villages towards decentralization and inclusion. Some use cases using this methodology It's e-government, e-health, e-education, e-banking, and e-commerce. As illustrated on the picture, public service offices usually have very long queues and people have to travel very long distance to have access. But with this model, it's possible to decentralize that towards inclusion. And this model also allows, can be used as a hotspot. So the citizens, if they have mobile handheld devices, they can access internet via hotspot from this infrastructure. And I illustrate on the right bottom end. We also contribute for decarbonization process, because if we have deployed this in the villages, the citizens will no longer need to travel long distances using taxi, motor taxi or cars or buses to have the same services. And we use solar energy as mentioned, not generators. If we have deployed more than one unit within the village, we can actually promote connectivity in between them using directional antennas. It's possible up to 10 to 12 kilometers to interconnect every unit deployed on the communities. And we also combine what we called a mobile local cloud in order to guarantee uninterrupted services. So if for some reason there's no data signal, it's possible through the mobile local cloud for people to access the information using intranet. Our survey framework was based on some questions related to some points such as relevance, coherence, effectiveness, efficiency, impact, and sustainability. And the answers matches to most of SDG goals. The implementation indication in Mozambique since 2015, which we initiated, we have built and deployed around 11 units. The data integration, we have reached about 2 million people since 2015. And the adoption of this model, it has been adopted by Mozambique, which is my home country. And we recently signed an agreement with Gambia government for implementation. I'm going to talk about another work item which we initiated with ITUT, question 28, study group 16. It's about the same concept on movable, in this case, a movable MRI system for rural and remote areas. MRI stands for magnetic resonance imaging, which is a 3D imaging method that visualizes signal obtained from electromagnetic resonance in magnetic fields by stimulating hydrogen atoms in the body. MRI is the only imaging method described by WHO that does not use ionizing radiation and therefore does not pose an exposure risk to the patient. This shows that MRI is considerable safe imaging method that is available, making it safe, powerful, non-invasive technique for visualizing the internal structure and function of the human body, which range of biological contrast, specifically soft tissues, the brain. However, since movable low-field MRI systems have not developed quite recently, then there's still no standards for such systems. So we created this new work item recently towards standards, and we would like to see if we can have more supporters and contributors in order to help us to move forward on this initiative. The advantage of this model is inclusion, low radiation, maneuver flexibility, and competitive in terms of prices. So, talking about rural and remote areas, we find this model compared to the existing one as highly flexible to move within the remote areas, and in terms of price, very competitive. A quick illustration on the discrepancy on the accessibility of MRIs. MRIs are more accessible in high developed countries if compared to countries still on development. This is just a comparison between the MRI model which we are proposing for standards, and on the right is the solution which are already in the market. So the difference is huge. And when we're talking about rural communities, remote areas, it may not be very practical. So this is some a gallery photographs on our current operations. In this case, it's Mozambique. And just to emphasize some words that the Secretary ITU General did on the opening ceremony. Standard builds trust, and trust builds inclusion. So this is exactly our vision, and we are looking for contributors within our work items, and we also conducting research and development in Mozambique and in Portugal with the University of Évora to validate this proof of concept and scale up. Thank you very much.